In 2013, I got married. Due to my wife's NHS job, we moved to the Isle of Wight. In 2017, due to my wife's NHS job, we moved off the Isle of Wight. However, in the 4 years we lived there, I found many things either interesting, surprising, or weird. This is my continuing record of all these things. I have got a confession to make. I am one of those guys. That's right. One of those musical theater guys. One of those all singing, all dancing, singing in the shower every day, jazz handing every chance I get guys. Personally, I blame Gene Kelly in Singing in the Rain.
Gotta dance, gotta dance, gotta dance, gotta dance.
I've had the privilege of working with some great people in some great shows, and it was something that was a regular feature of every single year of mine. When I first moved to the island, being newly married and having to figure that out, and also having to set up a business, I let that fall by the wayside a bit. But in early 2017, I thought to myself, enough! I have got to get back on stage. And so, I spoke to my friend Joe Redstone, who had met at the Island Business Network, a business breakfast I had recently started attending in Newport. Now, Joe had played in bands all across the island, and he told me that he knew somebody who he reckoned could help me out. Next thing I knew, I received a text from a guy called Andrew inviting me along to a rehearsal the next week. So I found myself walking into the Shankly Conservative Club, which is where I met these guys.
9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving, they just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it.
Just in case you didn't notice, they are putting in a production of 9 to 5, the Dolly Parton Musical. However, when I first met them, it was Jekyll and Hyde, and I swooped in and won the highly coveted role of third man from the left. This was my big moment in the show.
I like to have a man for breakfast each day. I'm very social and I like it that way.
Ah, Jesse. Anyway, I like to think that I have been around long enough to know when people know what they're doing, and these guys definitely did. Now, forgive my ignorance, but I was a little bit surprised to find something of this level of skill and expertise on the Isle of Wight. So it got me thinking, exactly how did this all start?
Years ago, Gilbert and Sullivan was never done, so we decided it was time to put the record straight and start a new company doing Gilbert and Sullivan, which is what we did. That was 1971 when we did the Mikado.
It was going to be perhaps just a one-off, but it turned out to
So successful that they decided to carry on.
and a proper society was then formed, really, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And we've been here ever since. And we look like it.
We've been in most shows. It started off with four people thought it was a good idea, and everybody got invited to just come along and sing and start, and that's how it then started. It wasn't a very formal.
It wasn't formal at all at the time, but we like to think that, we set a standard which we've followed ever since.
We had Anthony Minghella in our...
Yes, he was in our first production.
Wait, you mean this guy?
And Oscar goes to Anthony Minghella for the English patient.
It's a great day for the Isle of Wight today. Thank you very much.
Because he was a schoolboy and he knew Gareth Pritchard, and Gareth brought him along.
And he was a right little devil. He was 17. I can tell you, he was a very cheeky young man, but he was lovely.
I had my third teaching practice was at Blaque Middle, and we were doing patience in college. This was obviously back in '75, and we went to see the Dolly Parton production in Sadler's Wells in London, and I'd come back to school and there was a poster in the staff room saying that the Island Savoyards were doing patience. So I thought, oh well, better pop along and have a look at that. And I sat up in the balcony, watched the performance, and well, there was just no comparison. They were both absolutely spot on. And Chris Cooch, who did Bunthorne, he could have been John Reed. He could have been John Reed. I could have been looking at that very same person on stage. The production was absolutely amazing. Scenery, everything, singing, music, fabulous. So I thought, right, well, if I ever get a job on the Isle of Wight, I'm going to have to dive into this lot. And yeah, well, the rest is history, as they say.
And with people like this on board, the Savoyards just went from strength to strength.
Yeah, it's the first time we've ever, at Sandown, first time we ever put the sold out sign out. Fabulous. 1,000 seats, brilliant.
The Savoyards had truly taken off, with each subsequent show seemingly getting bigger than the last one. The reputation growing and growing, and the machine to make all of this work getting more and more sophisticated.
I used to do the posters. They always all of my posters were the same sort of like setup, where it was always Shanklin Theatre and Savoyards up there. I'd design a logo, stick it there, then the name of the show and all the information. So as soon as people saw these in the hedgerows, they would know that it was a Savoyards show because of the format of the poster. And we had banners. We put banners up over the street. Oh yeah, where's that? That's Sandown. That's across the high street in Sandown. This was a fence in Carisbrooke.
I mean, they even had them on buses, nowadays reserved only for the latest blockbuster. It's fair to say that the Savoyards had really made a name for themselves.
Did a lot of work, but I used to really enjoy it.
We've been lucky over the years. We've had some good talent that's come through without a shadow of a doubt, which has helped keep the standard up. Yeah, that's some good talent.
I first got involved, my dad was a member just before me actually. I became a member in 1999, I think it was, so just a few years ago. And they were doing a production of The Sorcerer, Gilbert and Sullivan's The Sorcerer. My dad was playing Dr. Daly, and they wanted to portray a young Dr. Daly. So I was asked to come along and do that. I've done multiple productions since then. Yeah, so the company formed in 1971. First show was Mikado, and then pretty much from then until 2012, they did all Gilbert and Sullivan or operettas. Very successfully, especially in the 70s and 80s, very successful, very great audiences. They did straight to other operettas, so not just Gilbert and Sullivan. But it was struggling for audiences, especially in the 2000s. And membership was also struggling.
And then about 6 years ago, Andrew Woodford took it to the AGM and said, "Isn't it time you got up to date?"
We were on a slippery slope, really, because unfortunately just the members.
Yeah, getting older. There were quite a lot of people that I'm afraid are no longer with us, right in the big sky of Gilbert and Sullivan.
There was a lot of discussion about the way and the direction the Savoyards should be going, actually. And they called an extraordinary general meeting, actually, to discuss the future of the company. at that time there was a dwindling membership, finances were dwindling, and they'd just done some different Gilbert and Sullivans and not sadly had the greatest response they could have. So they called an extra meeting, and for some reason I decided to stand up during the meeting and say that it was too much of a great opportunity just to go to waste, and I proposed that they did Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And it turned into a little bit of, okay, that's a great idea, if you want to do it, go for it. We've got nothing to lose. We either don't do it and perhaps dwindle, or we give it a go and see what happens. So I took on the role as director.
We haven't looked back since, have we?
No.
Because since then we've done a lot of
Beauty and the Beast
stuff.
was the first.
And it's reinvented the company, really, thanks to Andrew.
I've been involved or been part of every show since, which is, as I said, we started with Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and then we've done shows like Titanic, Hello Dolly, Sound of Music, Sister Act, Spamalot, Grease.
My daughter auditioned to be in The Sound of Music, so she got the part of, the second, Marta. She was Marta. So I started helping backstage with them for that production, and then went from there. And myself, my husband, and my 2 daughters. We're all involved and we all do shows. And we're trying to persuade my son, but at the moment he's quite happy watching us as opposed to being in it.
So Andrew's sort of saved us to a certain extent, and here we are today, doing 9 to 5. Incredible. So
With a lot of nice young
lots of young members now, which is great, which I hope will carry on. Because we have to look to the youth.
We want it to stay alive, don't we?
Get up and work 9 to 5, 9 to 5.
Tennis, were you on the note? No. So I'm going to give you that. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Tomorrow's Savoyard night. Tomorrow's Savoyard.
Sing to let me solo. The obviously each show has a director and a musical director and a choreographer, and then alongside with a stage manager. I think those 4 roles are the main members of the production team who need to liaise throughout constantly.
In the background, you then have someone that does the costumes, the makeup, the props, the scenery. We have to sort chaperone licenses. We have to get licenses to put on the production. So there's a lot of other stuff going on. So I'm currently directing. I do all the chaperoning stuff. I'm sorting the costumes. I'm sorting the props. I've just sorted out all the scenery with our stage manager. That's probably about it at the moment. Oh, all the lighting and the sound we have to sort as well. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Director we were going to have dropped out. He could no longer do it. And I haven't directed for a few years. And I had listened to the soundtrack and it was really cool. And I know the other people that had already committed to musical directing and choreography, and we've done stuff together before. So I kind of thought, I can do this, let's go for it. So I volunteered and they accepted. And it's been chaos ever since, but it's good chaos.
Yeah, so it starts, the auditions, obviously the first process, once the show's cast, which hopefully is fairly quickly, we can get underway with the rehearsals.
We were probably here for about 6.5 hours. We kind of cast most of the principal parts, put out a cast list. Somebody then withdrew, which then kind of changed the whole dynamics of the cast. So we then had to rethink on that character, auditioned another person, sorted that character out. Somebody else withdrew from another part, which we didn't have anybody else that had auditioned for that part that was suitable. So we then had to re-audition, which actually we've only done this week. And again, that part was very dependent on another part, like age-wise and all that sort of thing. So, but I think we're there. I think we've just about got a whole cast now. So 3 weeks in, that's not too bad.
No more pulls out. No more.
I hope not. We've still got a few months to go, but let's hope we're there now.
And generally, we have quite a short rehearsal time at the Savoyards in comparison to some companies. We often look to do a show in about 12 weeks from audition, so that journey is quite short, 12 weeks of 2 or 3 times a week before being in the theatre and up and running.
We are known for producing very professional appearing productions. Obviously we're all amateurs, but we go for a professional look. We generally have professional costumes and professional sets. The audiences that come tend to come purely because of our name now. And yeah, they know they're going to get a good show.
I'm really set on believing that the music is learnt properly before we hand it to the choreographer or the director to stage or choreograph.
In a couple of weeks we're going to start the choreography, so it helps if they know the songs before they start moving them, because they can't dance with books in their hands. At the same time as the choreography is going on, I'll start the direction with the principals, and then a few weeks after that we put everything together and hope it all fits.
And this is where Ash, the choreographer, comes in. Now, Ash managed to avoid me throughout this process, and so I'm left to imagine what she would have said. I reckon it would be something like, "Hello, I'm Ash. I grew up in the Savoyards and they're like a family to me. But I spread my wings and spent a year in the London School of Musical Theatre and another at the Sorbonne in Paris. Every now and then I come home and I give those less fortunate than myself the benefit of my experience and expertise, whipping this ragtag bunch into a well-oiled dancing machine." It would be great if she was like that. It really would add a Mean Girls vibe to this video. But unfortunately, she's lovely. Rehearsals, while amazing, do end up looking like this over and over and over again. So let's jump ahead and see what happens. During this time, I was in the middle of a house move, which not only kept me out of being in 9 to 5, it also kept me from hanging out with Savoyards. As such, it was a while before we could actually meet up again. And the next time I hung out with them, we were here. Shanklin Theatre, the historic home of all Savoyard shows.
We always used Shanklin Theatre. We used to use Sandown Pavilion when it was there, it's not there now, for some of our shows, but only like the autumn ones, but always once a year we used it here, and we've always done that.
And we've battled a long time, battled to keep the theatre
and keep our presence here as well, which nowadays is fine, but we had a long period when it was very difficult. But we stuck to our guns, didn't we?
Yeah.
And here we are, still in the Chatham Theatre.
We used to be able to have all of the front of house, so both sides, and then they used to have a banner across the front of the canopy. So the whole front of the theatre was the show that we were doing. Pinafore. I used to hand paint all of these 6 sheets. Yeah, used to do a lot with publicity.
Back at the theatre, it's at this point that
The costumes, the makeup, the props, the scenery, all the lighting and the sound.
crawl out of the woodwork and you see how many people have come together to get things ready, including a publicity campaign that shows that Roger's legacy is alive and well, and worthy of a black and white episode all on its own. Essentially, when there's a Savoyards show on, it is pretty difficult to ignore. As I said, it had been a while, and I knew that Jo must have been missing me shoving a camera in her face, so I decided to relieve her of that burden. Tell me a little bit about what's happening here.
The set's just arrived, so we're just going to unpack the set, take it into the theatre. All systems go.
Alright, cool. I haven't seen you for
Ages!
2 months. 2 months. So how's the show been going on in the last 2 months?
Really well. Really well. It's been hard work. There's a lot of chorus numbers, so an awful lot to put together, but it's got there. We've done full runs, we've done costumes, we've done props, so we're ready to go.
Ready to go under the watchful eye of John, the stage manager, who has the job of turning this stage into one that people would actually pay money to see.
Well, basically today we'll be putting a set up ready for a technical run tomorrow to make sure the cast are used to what the set looks like and where it's going to be. And that usually creates all sorts of confusion because they're not used to working with such a small space, having had a big hall to work in. So. But fundamentally we've got cloths to fly on bars up the top, we've got flats to put up, and trucks to put together. So let me just check what's going on over here because we may not want this on the stage yet.
There's the heartwarming sight of new Savoyards doing the first show, being shown around the theatre by old ones. I don't mean old, I mean those, I don't mean these ladies are old, let's say seasoned. Moving on. And there's a lot of work being done by people who are not getting paid at all to get things ready for the tech rehearsal. The first time that everybody gets to see what the show actually looks like and gives a chance to make final adjustments before a paying crowd is let in 3 days' time.
Prepared and excited and ready to run it all. It will all work fine. It will work absolutely fine. It just has to all work together, okay? And if we all work together, and as I put on Facebook the other day, please really look out and help each other, yeah? There's a lot going backstage, there's a lot of new cast, there's a lot of people who perhaps haven't done shows with the Savoyards before, so there's a lot of learning for people as well. Okay, so please really look out for each other, help each other, okay, and it'll be absolutely fine. So
the next couple of days are filled with getting the band in and running the show again and again so that everyone on stage and these guys backstage all get to be reading from the same script. And now a word about the backstage guys. You see the beardy, slightly ginger one? He's responsible for what happens to be Jo's favourite Savoyard memory.
Would have to be in our last production of Jekyll and Hyde. one of our backstage crew came on at the end of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to 2 inches your time, please. Stunning performance, I hope you all agree. This has become a family of mine over the last year, and one in particular, Lady Beaconsfield. Just like to, please.
Oh, I know what's going to happen.
They didn't know either. There you have it. With everyone's permission and the father's permission, we marry me.
So that, for me, I've been in amazing shows, but that's probably the best memory I've got at the moment.
I've said it to his face, and I'll say it again. Big balls on that guy. And Jo should know what she's talking about. Her story includes this.
About 22 years ago, we did Annie Get Your Gun. That was actually with another company based in Sandown. And we didn't know each other, and we both went for it and got cast opposite each other. And we had to fall in love and get married in the musical. So we did it in real life as well. And here we are. It's our 20th anniversary next year, so yeah.
Here's to 20 years of standing in the dark backstage. Oh, Ginger Beardy one. Other people who need this opportunity to get on the same page. You've met John, our stage manager. Ignore Dolly walking past in the background. There's these two.
Let's take my clothes. We'll do it that way. Take my clothes off.
Okay. Who are there because the set is not going to dress itself. For instance, this moment it would just look silly without that desk there. And there's Freddie. As you might tell from all that singing, she's usually on stage, but here she makes her debut handling props. And in testament to the invention of amateur theatre, she also plays a printer.
Oh, you're right there. That scared me.
Seriously, she plays a Xerox machine. Young people, Google it. This is her big moment on stage.
It's a women's problem. I said what's the matter, I am broke. What the hell is going on here?
I'm sorry, sir. I was moving too fast and paper started flying everywhere.
The next days are filled running the show again, ironing out kinks,
It's just in the 1-2 bar. From 118 down to 10. Down to 118. Here we go. Down to 10 and.
and having family bring you food in the theatre because this is where you live now. Oh hi, Roger. Continuing a fine tradition of documenting all Savoyards shows. And there is some brick in it as realization dawns that opening night is here.
Well, hey there, everybody. When I hear that sound, it takes me back to a time back when apples and blackberries was something I'd pick out behind the barn. Well, we're going back to 1979, when a gallon of gas ran you about 86 cents, shag rugs, bit rocks, and disco were the hottest things around, and it seemed like your whole life existed between the hours of 9 to 5. Back then, there was no such thing as office assistants. We were just secretaries, and the boss wasn't interested in no women's movement. Well, unless, of course, it was happening under his desk.
Pour myself a cup of ambition. Yawning, stretching, trying to come alive. Jumping in the shower and the blood starts pumping. And on the streets the traffic starts jumping and folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. On the way to make a living. Getting by, so taking and no giving. Use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy and mad.
Let me tell y'all what's going on. That's Spider. She's the company veteran, also a widow and the mom of a teenager.
Mom, where are my clean socks?
In the dirty clothes hamper.
Why are my clean socks with the dirty clothes?
Because your clean socks are dirty. Come on, we're running late.
Rise got me hopping, told to midnight there's no stopping. Don't know which I'm mothering the most. Kiss lunch and kiss my son, grab my purse and I keep running. Got so much on my plate I could choke. Working 9 to 5 for service and devotion. Would think that I deserve that promotion. Want to move ahead. Boss will seem to let me. That's rare sometimes. That man is there to get me.
And there's Dora Lee. She's sexy, she's sweet, she's well. Oh, you know who she is.
Dreams to watch them shatter. Just step on what's man's ladder. You got dreams will never take away.
You're in the same boat with a lot of your friends. When the day ship will come in.
The tide's gonna turn, it's all gonna roll your way. 9 to 5. You can find out. Keep us down. Back of it, hold on to me. We'll take you away.
And this carries on. You have a number, followed by heartfelt applause. Another number? He's a head teacher. Followed by slightly disgusted yet still heartfelt applause. This bit you might remember from dance rehearsals. Freddie's moment in the printer, followed by this bit, which actually made the people cry. Halftime on opening night. How are we feeling, Madam Director?
Very hot. Because we were running around like nutters, but it seems to be going very well. That's your one. Yeah, it's fine though. It works alright. Looking at you inside. Let's take a couple now.
Anyway, if you wanted to see more of the show, you should have bought a ticket. So we're going to squeeze through the rest.
Yeah.
how was it? How was your first night?
Smashed. Really good. I didn't expect any of that. I didn't expect a big bag. It scared the Jesus out of me. It was really good.
What do you guys reckon? What was it like? First night?
It was amazing. Yeah, brilliant. Well,
Oh yeah, it's such a lovely feeling if it all goes well. Super. I'm so pleased.
amazing. First show I've ever done. I was so nervous before we went on. Properly sick to my stomach in the wings before we went on, but actually, once we got the first number out of the way, it was absolutely fine. And it was so much fun. I'm so glad I've done it.
Well, my dick didn't fall out, so that's a bonus. Or not.
As the audience ascends into the night happy and entertained, and the cast and crew revel in surviving the performance without making too many obvious mistakes, something that kept coming up occurs to me.
It's kind of like a family. Everybody's very supportive of everybody else.
This has become a family of mine over the last year.
Oh, my dad was a member just before me, actually.
Then they're like a family to me.
It's just become part of our life.
While it might not be the main point of it, family and community play a massive part in the Savoyards. And as such, they're truly one of the biggest things that make me really unhappy that I no longer live on the Isle of Wight.